Alright, what I want to talk about today is the Revelation chapter 12 verses 1 and 2 sign in the heaven um, that's going to occur on the 23rd of September 2017. And before I go there and discuss that, let me just briefly go to Job chapter 9 verse 9, just to give you an understanding of what God's word says about constellations. So Job chapter 9 verse 9 says, which maketh, now it's talking about God, which maketh Arcturus, Orion and Pleiades and the chambers of the south. So God can't name every constellation there is, but he has named these ones. Arcturus is a star. Now, if he was to name every constellation, there just wouldn't be room in the Bible to do so. And man already places too much emphasis on astrology as it is, so I believe that's simply the reason why God hasn't named more constellations than this. So just keep that in mind as we look at these things. So we'll go back to the Stellarium. The program I'm using is Stellarium. I'll leave a link to the program in the About tab below the video. Now, essentially, Revelation chapter 12, we'll just go to that verse, Revelation chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And if you read on, it's clear that it's talking about Jesus Christ. So, what we have here, now, what often happens with prophecies is there's a dual fulfillment. And there is a dual fulfillment with this prophecy of Revelation chapter 12 verses 1 and 2. There's a fulfillment that's going to take place in 2017, and there was a fulfillment when Christ was born in 3 BC. Now you'll notice that the year here is -2, and if I just go back to 1 AD, we go back to 1 BC, which they're calling 0, then we go to -1, which is 2 BC, and then -2, which is 3 BC. Okay, so just to clarify why you're seeing -2 there. And it is the 11th of September, okay, and the hour is rather late in the day, it's 2300 hours. So I'll just put the date and time over there. We've got the moon at her feet, okay, this is the constellation of Virgo, and the constellation, you know, you've got a star here, and there's a faint line that you may not be able to see which reaches to a star here, and then it reaches to a star there, and then to a star there, and from this star to that star to that star is the other leg. So the artwork and the constellation, the way the lines work with the stars, you know, it doesn't quite match up. So the artwork is a good visualization of what it would look like, but the lines for in between the stars, that's the more crucial aspect that we'll be looking at later. So this star here, Spica, this star over here, and this star here form a quadrangle, which virtually is the stomach or the tummy or the womb, if you like, of that constellation. Now, bearing in mind, we're talking about symbols. We're talking about representations. So in 3 BC, what we have is the moon at the constellation's feet. We have the sun, she's clothed in the sun, and then we have Mercury and Venus, which are wandering wandering stars. They're planets, but they're known as wandering stars. And then we have at her head, we have the constellation of Leo, which is always there, and it has 9 stars. We'll count them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's another wandering star or planet known as Jupiter, as you can see here. So we've got the 9 stars of Leo, we've got Jupiter, which is 10, we've got Venus and Mercury, which is 11 and 12. So we've got the 12 stars crowning her head, and she's clothed in the sun and the moon at her feet. So if we go back to verse 2 of Revelation 12, it says, "And being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered." So what we see here by this sign, this heavenly sign, is we don't see a child being born. We don't have a planet, as we'll later see in Revelation chapter, as we'll later see in 2017 date of this. We don't have a planet exiting the birth canal of the constellation. Now, bearing in mind again, once again, that this is we're talking symbolically. Okay, so the constellation, we all understand that it's not actually giving birth, but so the absence of a planet exiting the birth canal is because Jesus was actually born at this time. So symbolically we have this sign, but in reality Christ was born. Okay, so Christ was born 3 BC. Alright, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in this part of it. So now we'll go to 2017, and we're going to go to September the 23rd. Now bear in mind that 3 BC date was the first day of the 7th month in the priestly calendar. Okay, and it is also the first day of the first month in the kingly calendar, in the Jewish calendar system. So he was born on Rosh Hashanah, or Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets. This is believed to be the anniversary of the creation of the world, so it's a very significant date. Alright, so we've got 2017, September the 23rd, and as you can see, we've got the moon at the constellation's feet, and it's much more, in terms of this dual prophecy that I was speaking about earlier, the 3 BC was a partial fulfillment, and this is a complete fulfillment. So we've got the moon at her feet, we've got Jupiter here, and it's you could say that it's exited the birth canal. She's clothed in the sun, and then we've got Mercury, Mars, and Venus, right? And then the 9 stars of Leo with Regulus. So I didn't say earlier, Regulus is the king star, Jupiter is the king planet, and Leo is the king constellation. So there's, if you watch the documentary The Star of Bethlehem, I'm just trying to think of the guy's name, Larkin I think it is. Anyway, it's on YouTube, and he makes a point of king, king, king. You've got the king constellation, the king planet, and the king star. So king, king, king. Jesus was the king of kings. So we've got Mercury, Mars, and Venus, and these 9 stars of Leo. So that's the 12 stars crowning her head. All right. So you can look through. These are the only times that this sign occurs. You can look through all of the years, and you will not find it occurring any other time. This is the only time in 3 BC that it occurs. So we'll zoom in to Jupiter, and we'll go, so just keep in mind this date, the 23rd of September, and we're going to go to the 9th. Now I just we'll just track Jupiter. Whenever I pan the we lose track of Jupiter. So I can zoom in, but if I pan, it will not follow Jupiter anymore. So we'll just go forward to this point here. It is the 9th of September, and we'll zoom in. You can see Jupiter quite clearly there. And now we'll just go backwards in time, and you can see it crosses that line. There's a line here. I'll just zoom out without panning. So we've got Spica and this star over here, and there's a line in between those two stars. So we'll just zoom in again without panning, and we'll just go backwards in time, and you can see between the 19th hour and the 20th hour that it crosses the line. So it's late in the day, but it's still the 9th of September 2017. Okay, so just keep that date in mind, the 9th of September 2017. We'll zoom out, and what we're going to do is we're going to go back. I'm going to pan here, so it's probably not going to follow Jupiter, but anyway, we'll see what happens. So we're going to go back 9 months. So here's their monthly count back. Yeah, it hasn't. I need to go back and put Jupiter in here. Right, so it's going to follow Jupiter. So we'll go back month by month. So this is the 8th, this is August, and Jupiter is inside this quadrangle, which I'm going to call the womb, or the belly of the constellation of Virgo. And then we go to July, and it's just gone outside of the quadrangle or the womb. Now, when a woman's pregnant, and this is towards the end of the pregnancy, the belly is full, so it's not unreasonable to expect that the baby is outside of the normal area of what would normally be the area of the womb, the space of the womb. So it's not unreasonable that it's outside that quadrangle at the moment. And then we go to June, and it's outside it also. Now, what we're looking at here is Jupiter in retrograde motion, and I'm just thinking I was going to show something. Just bear with me. Just go to just bear with me. Star of Bethlehem. This is Associates for Scriptural Knowledge. And I'm just going to show you what retrograde motion is. This is a good example. This is a conjunction, and this is retrograde motion. So this blue sphere going around the Sun is Earth, and this is Jupiter. So as Jupiter gets to this point up here, the way it's seen from Earth is it looks like it's moving backwards and forwards instead of in see that there, moving backwards and forwards. So that's retrograde motion. So in the same way, like it's got written here, the same effect can be seen when you pass a slower moving car on the freeway. The car appears to move backwards against the background even though you're both moving forward. So that's retrograde motion. So we'll go back to the stellarium. So what we're looking at here, as Jupiter, so it's gone in this direction, but now it's going to move back. So it's in retrograde motion. So we've got June, and we've got May, and it's back inside the womb or the quadrangle, and we've got April, it's back inside. It remains inside, so it's in retrograde motion. We've got March, it's still inside. We've got February, it's still inside, and now it's coming back the other way. So it's January, and now it's December, and now it's November and it's left. Okay, so just bear in mind the 9th of September was the date. We've got the 23rd of September and the 9th of September. So now we've got November, and we're just going to click it until we get Jupiter back touching the line. So that is the 20th of November, and I'll zoom in. Alright, now as you can see, it's not quite touching the line. You might not be able to see the line, I don't know. I'm yet to find out whether the line is going to be visible in the resolution of the video that I'm using. But anyway, so we'll now click this time forward. Alright, and there is, and we'll go by minutes now, and it's just touching. No, it's not. Now it is. Well, now we've gone too far. Right, so it's just touching the line, and I've panned, so we've got to put the search crosshairs back on. So it's just touching that line. So it is now the 20th of November 2016. Alright, so I've got a spreadsheet, and I'll just widen that, just zoom up. So you should be able to see the first day. Now I know it's not going to be one complete day that we're counting. We're not counting complete days, but we're counting the day that Jupiter first touches the quadrangle of the womb of the constellation of Virgo. So that's the 20th of November 2016. And if we, okay, so Jupiter enters Virgo's womb, and if we scroll down, 2017, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Okay, so remember I said the 9th of September 2017, so that's day 294. So if you divide 294 by 7, because there's 7 days in a week, you get 42. Okay, so I'll just magnify that there. So we've got 294 days exactly, okay, and there's exactly 42 months, 42 weeks I should say, sorry. Okay, and then we go to our 23rd of September date, 2017, and there's exactly 308 days from the first day, which if you divide by 7 is exactly 44 weeks. Now I thought, when I first heard this, I thought, wow, that's just amazing. That's incredible really when you think about it. So what is the significance of the 42 and the 44? So I looked into the gestational period of a normal human being is 40 weeks. Okay, and they include that in that 40 weeks they started from the woman's last menstrual cycle. Okay, so 2 weeks later, so the normal menstrual cycle is 28 days long. So from when the menstrual cycle started, 2 weeks in they ovulate, and then it's another 38 weeks and the baby's born. So 40 weeks is the average, and the normal range is between 38 and 42 weeks. Okay, so a baby can go up to 42 weeks it's quite within a normal range to go up to 42 weeks. And some babies even go up to 44 weeks. So 44 weeks is not unusual. Well, sorry, it is unusual, but it's not something that is impossible. Okay, so what I'm postulating is these numbers are signifying, the 42 weeks is, you know, the 44 weeks is including the 2 weeks before ovulation. Okay, so, and the 42 weeks is counting from conception. All right, now, if you wanted to symbolize this, how could you do it? Well, what you've just seen is the best way that it can be symbolized in terms of a quadrangle and a finishing date. It to me, it is signifying the 2 weeks prior to ovulation, and then you've got exactly 42 weeks from conception to birth. Okay, so if we revisit Revelation chapter 12, verse 2, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. So in the 3BC fulfillment, partial fulfillment of this prophecy, Christ was born. In the 2017 fulfillment of this prophecy, we've got the king planet Jupiter being delivered, being born. Once again, if you see the Star of Bethlehem movie, it's explained in more detail there about the significance of the king planet being in retrograde also at that time. All right. What else was I going to say? That's right. That's what I was going to say. The significance of the number 42. Its two factors are 6 and 7. 6 is the number of man. If you look at Revelation chapter 13 verse 18, it talks about 666 being the number of the beast. If you go to Genesis chapter 1, go to the 6th day of creation, that's when man was created. So 6 is the number of man. Jesus was fully and completely man. That's what's represented by the number 6 in these factors, 6 and 7. 7 is the number of spiritual perfection. Jesus was God in the flesh. If you read 1 Timothy 3 verse 16, it says that God was manifest in the flesh, and in the King James Version too, by the way. So what's symbolized by the 42 is these two factors of Jesus being a perfect man, and the 7, Jesus being perfectly God. And I've also thought about the significance of 44. If you know anything about Gematria, once again referring to Revelation, I was going to say Genesis, Revelation 13 verse 18, it talks about the number of the beast and about calculating the number of the beast, and I've got a few videos about that at the moment. I'll leave a link to those videos in the About box below. And essentially, for example, Aleph is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And I'm just going to put the stellarium on just so it's a bit more entertaining than looking at the Excel spreadsheet. So Aleph is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and it has a value of 1. Alpha is the first letter in the Greek alphabet, it has a value of 1. Bet is the second letter in the Hebrew alphabet, it has a value of 2. Beta is the second letter in the Greek alphabet, it has a value of 2 as well. So Abba, for example, which is father, A is 1, B is 2, there's 2 B's, so there's 4, 5, and another A is 6. So Abba has a gematria of 6. So Jesus' name in Greek is Isus. So his name, and I've got a video Stephen Hawking, You're Wrong, where I explain how Jesus' name, his gematria, is equal to 888. So I'll just go back to the spreadsheet, and we've got the 44 weeks. So I see, in the same way, 888 is, the significance of the number 8 is that the 8th day of the week is Sunday. Jesus was resurrected on the 8th day. It is a new beginning. There was 8 people on the ark. There was Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and their wives. So there was 8 people. So 8 is significant of a new beginning. So I see, if Jesus was born at 44 weeks, he's not a man. So Jesus in his fullness is 888, but Jesus as a baby is half of that. So that's if you wanted to look at it that way, you could. All right, so we'll just go back to September the 11th, 23rd, sorry. 23rd, and we'll just zoom in on the moon. And we'll have to go later in the day. 23rd. Okay, so this sign, if you read the book of Revelation, I've recently found out in the last year, or even less than that, in the last 8 months. I was watching After the Tribulation by Faithful Word Baptist Church with Steve Anderson, and in that they talk about how you should read the book of Revelation. You read it from chapters 1 to 11, and then start again from chapters 12 to 22. So what's inferred about that is that the 1260 days in Revelation chapter 11 is the latter half of Daniel's 70th week, and the 1260 days in Revelation chapter 12, I'll just go to that. Okay, so verse 6, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Okay, so what could possibly be happening if Revelation is to be read that way, which I believe it should be? What one could interpret by that is that Revelation 12 starts the tribulation. Okay, so this date is the day after Rosh Hashanah, I believe. Now we'll just check that. We go to Hebkel. And we'll go to 2017. Alright. And we'll go to September. Yeah, so 23rd. I'll just zoom that up for you. So this is July, August, September. Okay, so we've got the 23rd, and Rosh Hashanah is the 2 days before that. So this sign is appearing the day after Rosh Hashanah. So Yom Teruah, the Day of Trumpets. All right, so if as I was saying, if you read Revelation from 1 to 11 and then start again from chapters 12 to 22, then this sign is the start of the tribulation, quite possibly. And I'm doing a video at the moment on how to read the book of Revelation read in chronological order. So I'll have a link for that in the About box below when I get around to doing it. And we're definitely living in the time of Jesus' return. There is no doubt about it. This is Jesus said in Luke chapter 21. I'll just go to it now. Luke chapter 21 talks about the signs in the heavens. Alright, so verse 10, Luke 21 verse 10, and then said he unto them, this is equivalent to Matthew 24 and Mark 13, I think. We've got Mark 13 listed there and Matthew 24 there. So, if you want to read the parallel passages that go to those chapters and those Gospels, then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences, and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. Okay, so, and great signs there shall be from heaven. Okay, so we've got, the blood moon tetrad, and we've got this sign. Just another thing that's coming to mind is Genesis chapter 1 verse 14. We've got, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the night from the day, and let them be for signs. The first reason listed is signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. Okay, so what comes to mind is, Jesus said, an adulterous, I'll just look it up, adulterous generation looks after signs. Can't spell adulterous. Let's try sign. That's how it's spelled. So we'll go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 39, King James Version. But he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it but the sign of the prophet Jonah. Okay, so I'm aware of that scripture in terms of looking for signs, but this is what's going to happen. It's not as though we've gone out of our way looking for these signs. These are the sort of signs that are acceptable. If you read verse 38 before it, and then certain of the scribes and the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from thee. So they went to Jesus directly and said, show us a sign. They wanted a sign directly from him. And he said, no, that's what an adulterous generation does. These signs are occurring, they are out of our control. So Revelation chapter 12 verses 1 and 2, we've got this sign appearing in 2017. I think that's about all I want to say. All right, so thanks very much for listening, and God bless you, and may God be with you in all your journeys. Amen. Thanks.